All right. Welcome back, everyone. Here is going to be the Go Live training. I think it's going to be the second one. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. Again, I'm Chase E with Chase Knowledge. Is the brand I have online where the whole focus of it is unlocking your true potential. This training is going to be on energy recovery, or basically a breakdown of this book that I finished a little bit while ago, The Power of Full Engagement, and just the primary takeaways I took from that book. So, with that being said, I'll go ahead and share my screen for the live training. Okay, so this one is primarily going to be focused. The main thing I got away from this book was energy recovery is a lot different than how I originally perceived it. And so that's really what I want to talk about here. So, again, why is this important and why is this worth your time? The goal of, like I said, the goal of this channel is to unlock your true potential. The goal of all my courses, that's my goal here, is to unlock your true potential so you can live the life you were meant to live. And a big, if not the biggest part of unlocking your true potential comes down to taking action. And a big part of taking action comes down to energy management, just like some of my other courses, how to make difficult things easy. Energy management is a huge portion of that. And a big portion of energy management is energy recovery, which is the primary thing I got out of this book. So here are a couple of things that are a couple of points that you can take from what I learned through this book that you can start applying into your life today. So the first thing, and the primary thing I got out of this book is that there are multiple forms of energy, right? It's not just physical energy, right, where you can go to sleep and recover. There's also emotional, mental, and spiritual. And I actually have some notes here. I don't want to get this wrong because this part is a little bit more complex. But basically, the main takeaway from this was before I had read this book, I had always thought that, if you're tired, if your battery is low, then you just need to sleep more. But I have found that, my battery has been low in more than one ways, or in multiple ways. And no matter how much I sleep or how little I sleep, I was never able to recover. I always felt burned out, or, something like that. And so reading this was really enlightening because it solidified a hypothesis that I had that, sleeping wasn't the only form of recovery, right? So there's different forms of recovery depending on which energy you are low on. So, like right here, I have notes. If sleep is effective, that means your physical battery was low, and that's physical recovery. If doing something fun is effective, whether it's painting, rock climbing, playing video games, or whatever that is. If doing something fun, no matter how productive it is, if that is an effective recovery, that means your emotional battery or your emotional energy battery was low and needed to be recovered. If like getting out and going on walks and getting out in nature was what helped you recover from being burnt out, that means you were mentally burned out, and so that would be considered a mental recovery. And if reviewing your values and principles is what got you out of the rut and what recharged your battery, that would be classified as spiritual recovery. And so, again, you have these different energies, not in like a mystic sense, but there are different energies in you that need to be recharged. So it's not just sleep. If sleep isn't doing it for you, then you want to be looking into these other three categories as well. And so when you practice all of these, you will be able to detect what kind of energy you need based on the source of energy. So if you don't have a lot of energy or the quantity, then you'll need sleep, right? This is kind of like diagnosing, which one you're actually low on, and you could be low on multiple. That is very possible. If you don't have quality energy, right? If you don't have quality energy, then you will need to do things that you enjoy. We'll talk more about that in the next point. If you don't have focus energy, right? If you can't focus, like you're not tired, you don't need to sleep, but if you can't like focus in on a task and get it done, then you will then that means you're low on mental energy, and you'll want to go on walks and get out in nature and kind of detach a little bit. That's how you recover that way. And if you don't have force, um, uh, if you don't have force, like as in like purpose, or like there's not a fire, there's not you're not motivated or anything like that, then you'll want to review your values and principles, or if you don't even know what those are, you'll want to set those up to like kind of rekindle that flame and recover spiritually. So again, the main point here is that there are multiple forms of energy. It's not just physical. Sleep isn't gonna, always recharge your battery. There's a couple of other things. So try out sleeping, try out doing things for their enjoyment, try walking and getting out in nature, and then try reviewing what sets a fire or what motivates you in order to, experiment to see what other recovery that you need to do in order to maximize your potential, right? Because when you're operating with full battery in all of these, your productivity goes through the roof and you're able to get so much done. You actually enjoy yourself while you do it. So next point is going to be on emotional recovery. So we're kind of taking one of these subpoints out, and I'm just highlighting it here because it was it stood out to me so much that I wanted to actually give it its own slide, because this is something that I struggle with a lot. Doing what you enjoy simply because you enjoy it recovers your emotional battery. So, whether it be reading books that aren't, or reading fictional books, or playing video games, or playing sports, that stuff is actually productive if you enjoy doing it, right? Your emotional battery actually needs to do this, or you will burn out. And so this is something I struggle with because I feel guilty when I do things like this because I feel like I could always be working on something else. And I know I'm not the same. I know there's plenty of other people out there who struggle with this. So I wanted to call this out and just make a note that this is something that we all need to work on doing things we enjoy just simply because we enjoy them is actually productive because it helps us emotionally recover that battery. The next thing that I wanted to talk about that really stood out to me is positive versus negative emotion. When it comes to energy management, negative emotions actually consume a lot more energy than positive emotions. So if you're motivated by anger or revenge or anything like that, it's a very powerful emotion, but emotion for a positive emotion in order to give you, more bang for your buck. The way I think about this was like anger is like sugar, where it's a lot of energy all at once, but it burns out really quickly. And so you're looking for another hit of sugar to kind of keep the energy going, but it's not super healthy for your body long term. Whereas gratitude, right, a positive emotion is more like a whole grain where it's a very slow burn but consistent and allows you to last for the long term. So I don't know, this really stood out to me. There's a lot of, stuff out there on social media and TikTok and YouTube and all that where, people are like, use and leverage negative emotions, and let that be the main thing that you do. And it can work for some. And I'm not saying you want to trade all of this for this, because an emotion is an emotion. And if this is very powerful, then there might be value there. But I think in the long term, you want to have more positive emotions versus negative emotions because you're just going to get farther that way. So just keep that in mind. If you're operating strictly from negative emotions, you may want to try and trade them for positive ones because it'll give you more energy in the long term. And then the final point that really stood out to me, this one's a little more specialized, and maybe unique, but the book called out something in regards to energy management that to me just made so much sense that I wanted to highlight it here. And that's when it comes to energy management, it might make more sense to go from 3 larger meals down to 5 smaller meals. So maybe this is something that you've already heard of. This was a little bit of a new concept for me, but made so much sense because I personally have found that trying to strategize for 3 larger meals is very difficult because my day is not super structured, depending on what's going on in my personal life. And so it can be difficult to prep all these and get all the nutrition I want to get in here and all that. And then I also feel like because they're so far spaced out, that I have to eat a lot more than I would be comfortable eating in one sitting. And I end up, potentially overeating and not feeling very good. And then that messes up the rest of the day, or, messes up my sleep. Whereas I found that, 5 meals, planning for 5 meals, right? You have breakfast, a mini snack, lunch, a mini snack, and then dinner. Planning these is a lot easier, right? You don't have to overeat, right? You can eat just enough to where you're not hungry anymore, but you don't have to be full because you know that you're going to eat again in, an hour or an hour and a half, to have that smaller snack. So going from 3 larger meals to 5 smaller ones to me just made so much sense that I wanted to highlight it here. It's definitely something that I'm going to be um, moving forward because it definitely makes sense for me. So I'm assuming it'll probably make sense for some of you as well. But those are the main points, just to highlight them here. Again, positive versus negative emotions. Positive emotions require less energy than negative emotions. Emotional recovery, it's okay and preferred. You actually need to do things that you enjoy doing to emotionally recover. We just talked about, trading 5 meal or doing 5 meals instead of three. There, again, the main thing is that there are multiple forms of energy. And then, of course, the different sources of energy right here, right? So there's different ways to recover depending on what battery is low. So that is the training this time around. Let me stop sharing so we don't go into that matrix or that thing yet. So, yep, that's the training for this time. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and let me know down below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.